Hey guys, Fletcher here and welcome to Trans 101, a series where I give information and advice to trans people. Today is the first official video of Trans 101, so I decided that all I would do is go through a couple of terms I'm going to be using and that are used often in the trans community and give a little bit of a definition for them. Because there's quite a lot of jargon thrown around, I think, and it can be quite confusing and overwhelming if you constantly have to look up these terms because you have no clue what they mean. So let's start. Trans. Trans is a kind of umbrella term, meaning anybody who doesn't identify 100% with the gender that they were assigned at birth. So if a baby is born and the doctor's like, that is a girl, and then the baby grows up and is like, I'm not really 100% a girl, that person's trans. At the same time, I would say that the word trans is definitely a choice whether or not you use it. So if you have an identity like you're agender or you're bigender or anything like that and you don't want to use the word trans and you don't feel like it applies to you, then you don't have to use it. Genderqueer. Genderqueer is an umbrella term meaning anybody who doesn't really fit into the exact identities of male and female, but at the same time it can also be used as a specific identity if somebody decides that that's just the word that sums them up best. Once again, like trans, you don't have to use this term even if you identify as something outside of male and female. If you feel uncomfortable using the term genderqueer, maybe because it contains the Q slur or anything like that, totally fine. Non-binary is the same as genderqueer, basically. It can be an umbrella term meaning anything outside of male or female, but it can also be a specific identity. FTM stands for female to male, which basically means someone who was assigned female at birth now identifies as male. Some people don't like this term because it suggests that at some point they were female, whereas in reality they've always been male. MTF is basically the same except for it's male to female, so it is a trans woman who obviously was assigned male at birth, and there's the same issues with some people not liking that term. Trans feminine is anybody who's trans who falls more on the feminine end of the spectrum or dresses femininely. So this can mean a trans woman, but it can also mean just a feminine non-binary person or a demigirl or anything like that. Transmasculine is the same, but the male end of the spectrum. DMAB stands for designated male at birth and AMAB stands for assigned male at birth. These both mean the same thing, which is that when you were born, the doctor said you were a boy. So trans women, for example, would be DMAB because the doctor said that they were male at birth, but they now identify as a woman. DFAB and AFAB means designated female at birth and assigned female at birth, which is what I am. Dysphoria is hard to define. It basically means feeling negative about the way your gender is presented to others. There's social dysphoria, which means not liking the pronouns that are used to talk about you, not liking the name maybe that you are, not liking the gender that's on your ID, anything like that. Whereas physical dysphoria is maybe disliking the way you look, disliking the way your voice sounds, disliking the clothes that you're wearing, all of that kind of stuff. Most people when they say dysphoria mean physical dysphoria. Transphobia is outright hate and oppression of trans people, like not letting them use the bathrooms they want, or beating them up because they're trans, or saying they're not really the gender they identify as, or any of that. That is transphobia. Cissexism is more a unspoken and often non-malicious attitude that penis equals men, vagina equals woman, there's nothing in between, you can't be anything other than those. So for example, saying women are so strong because they all deal with their periods is sexist, because that's saying, first off, people who have periods all identify as women, and also everyone who's a woman has a period, which is just wrong on so many levels. Transmisogyny is specific hate against trans women. This usually is not the same as transphobia because there's a very specific thing that only trans feminine people deal with that transmasculine people like me will never have to deal with. So that's fun, isn't it? Transition is changing the way that you live in society gender-wise. When you start your transition is up to you when you want to define it. For me, it's when I got my first haircut. For some people, they won't define it until they've had their first shot of hormones. It's up to you when you decide you want to define transition as, but it's moving from one gender to another, kind of. HRT stands for hormone replacement therapy. In terms of trans people, this means getting hormones that will change their physiology. Trans men get testosterone, trans women get estrogen and anti-androgenins and a whole lot of stuff that I did not know about when I researched this video, and then I got onto the internet and I was like, wow, trans women have to go through so much more than we do. T stands for testosterone. You might hear quite a few trans men just talking about getting on T, or it's been 8 years since I started T or anything like that. That just means testosterone. Passing is being seen as the gender you identify as by a stranger. So I don't pass as male. If someone sees me on the street, they will think that is a girl. But if someone said that is a guy, I would be passing because I am a guy. Stealth is kind of living where nobody knows you're trans. Obviously your close family will, all of that kind of stuff, but basically every new person that you meet, you don't have to tell them you're trans because you pass really well and nobody ever knows and you're like a cool secret agent. Boom. Fun times. So those are a few terms that I might be using in these videos that you might see in other trans spaces. So hopefully this was helpful for you. If you have any other terms that you've come across that you are a bit confused about, feel free to ask in the comments and I or somebody else will define them for you. Thank you for listening. I will see you at some point. Goodbye.